TV so the neon lights of the casino flickered like a dying star, casting jagged shadows across the smoky air. The clatter of slot machines and the murmur of desperate gamblers filled the room, a symphony of greed and despair. At the heart of this den of vice stood Randy, his face a mask of grim determination, his eyes burning with a fire that had been stoked by betrayal and loss. He had returned to the world of Beyond the Gates, the sprawling, treacherous saga that had already claimed so much from him. But this time, he wasn't just a player in Joey's game, he was a man with a plan, a vendetta, and a secret that could unravel everything. The question on every viewer's mind is this: is Randy's return a calculated move to destroy Joey, and could it be tied to the mysterious fate of his late friend Doug? Is Doug truly dead, or is this all part of an elaborate scheme to bring Joey's empire crashing down? The return of Randy, a man on the edge. When Randy stepped back into the casino, the air seemed to shift, as if the room itself sensed the weight of his presence. His boots echoed on the polished floor, each step a declaration of intent. He wasn't the same man who had fled months ago, a broken figure running from the consequences of his choices. This Randy was different, harder, sharper, his jaw set with a resolve that bordered on obsession. He carried with him a leather satchel, its contents a mystery to all but him. The crowd parted as he approached Joey, the kingpin of this underworld, lounging at a private table with a cigar in one hand and a glass of bourbon in the other. Joey's eyes narrowed as Randy approached, a predator sizing up an unexpected challenger. The last time they'd crossed paths, Randy had been a liability, a man who'd stolen from Joey's coffers and barely escaped with his life. Now, here he was, bold as brass, offering not just an apology but a deal. Randy reached into his satchel and produced a stack of cash, double the amount he'd stolen. The bills hit the table with a heavy thud, a sound that seemed to reverberate through the room. "If I'm already on the road to hell," Randy said, his voice low and steady, "I'd rather hitch a ride with the devil." The words hung in the air, laced with defiance and something darker, something that made Joey's smile falter for just a moment. Joey extended a hand, and Randy shook it, sealing a pact that felt more like a prelude to war than a reconciliation. The crowd around them buzzed with whispers. Was Randy really back? Could Joey trust him? And what did this mean for the fragile balance of power in their world? Joey's game, trust and treachery. Joey, ever the master manipulator, played his part to perfection. He welcomed Randy back with a grin that didn't quite reach his eyes, his words dripping with false warmth. "Good to have you back, old friend," he said, clapping Randy on the shoulder. But behind the facade, Joey's mind was already spinning, calculating the risks and rewards of this unexpected reunion. He didn't believe for a second that Randy had returned out of loyalty. The man had stolen from him, betrayed him, and now he was back with a sack of cash and a cryptic promise? No, Joey wasn't born yesterday. Later that night, in the dimly lit backroom of the casino, Joey placed a call to Marcel, his most trusted enforcer. "Randy's back on the payroll," Joey said, his voice cold as steel. "But don't get comfortable. If he steps out of line, we stage another accident." The words were chilling, a reminder of the fate that had befallen Doug, Randy's closest ally. Doug's death had been ruled an accident, a car crash on a lonely stretch of highway, his vehicle engulfed in flames. But those who knew Joey's methods whispered that there were no accidents in his world, only carefully orchestrated executions. Marcel, a man whose loyalty to Joey was matched only by his ruthlessness, didn't hesitate. "Understood, boss. If Randy's playing games, he won't be playing for long." The line went dead, and Joey leaned back in his chair, staring out at the casino floor through a one-way mirror. He was a man who thrived on control, but Randy's return had introduced a variable he couldn't quite predict. And in Joey's world, unpredictability was a dangerous thing. The ghost of Doug, dead or deceiver? The specter of Doug looms large over this unfolding drama, his absence a wound that refuses to heal. To the world, Doug is dead, his life snuffed out in that fiery crash. But Beyond the Gates thrives on deception, and fans have long speculated that Doug's death might be more fiction than fact. Could Randy's return be the first move in a grander scheme, one that involves Doug himself? The idea is tantalizing, a twist worthy of the show's labyrinthine plotlines. Let's consider the evidence. Doug was no ordinary sidekick. He was Randy's brother-in-arms, a man who knew the inner workings of Joey's empire as well as anyone. He was cunning, resourceful, and fiercely loyal to Randy. His death came at a convenient time for Joey, just as Doug was beginning to question his boss's methods. The official report claimed that Doug's car veered off the road, a tragic accident caused by a blown tire and excessive speed. But the details never quite added up. The crash site was suspiciously clean, the investigation rushed, and the coroner's report curiously vague. For a show that revels in ambiguity, these inconsistencies are catnip for theorists. What if Doug isn't dead? What if he's been lying low, biding his time, working with Randy to orchestrate Joey's downfall? The idea isn't as far-fetched as it seems. Beyond the Gates has a history of pulling the rug out from under its audience, and a fake death would be right in line with its penchant for shock and awe. Imagine the scene. Randy, playing the part of the prodigal son, lures Joey into a false sense of security while Doug operates in the shadows, gathering evidence, rallying allies, and setting the stage for a confrontation that could redefine the series. Randy's plan, revenge or redemption? If Doug is alive, then Randy's return is likely the opening salvo in a carefully crafted plan to destroy Joey from within. But even if Doug is truly gone, Randy's motives are far from pure. The man who stood before Joey in the casino was not the broken figure who fled months ago. This Randy is driven by something deeper, something that smolders in his eyes and tightens his fists. Is it revenge for Doug's death? A quest for redemption? Or something more personal, a wound that cuts deeper than anyone realizes? Let's explore the possibility of revenge. Doug's death, whether real or staged, would have shattered Randy. They were more than friends, they were family, bound by years of shared struggle in Joey's cutthroat world. If Randy believes Joey orchestrated Doug's demise, his return could be a calculated act of vengeance. The money he offered Joey, double what he stole, might be a Trojan horse, a way to buy his way back into Joey's inner circle. Once inside, Randy could gather the evidence he needs to expose Joey's crimes, turn his allies against him, or strike when the kingpin least expects it. But revenge is a dangerous game, and Randy knows it. Joey is no fool. He's survived betrayals, coups, and assassination attempts. For Randy's plan to succeed, he'd need to be meticulous, playing the long game with a patience that borders on superhuman. Every word, every gesture would have to be calculated to avoid suspicion. The handshake in the casino, the cash on the table, each move a piece on the chessboard, positioning Randy for the checkmate. Alternatively, what if Randy's return isn't about revenge but redemption? Perhaps he blames himself for Doug's death, believing that his own actions, stealing from Joey, defying his authority, set the chain of events in motion. By returning to the casino, Randy might be seeking to atone for his sins, to make things right in a world that's gone so wrong. But redemption in Joey's world is a rare commodity, and Randy would need to navigate a minefield of lies and treachery to achieve it. The Doug conspiracy, a twist in the making? The theory that Doug is alive and working with Randy is the kind of audacious twist that Beyond the Gates lives for. Picture it, Doug, scarred but unbroken, hiding in a safe house on the outskirts of town, poring over blueprints of Joey's operations. He and Randy communicate through encrypted messages, their plan unfolding with the precision of a military operation. Doug's death was a ruse, a way to disappear from Joey's radar while they built their case against him. The car crash? A staged spectacle, complete with a burned-out wreck and a body too charred to identify. The coroner? Paid off or coerced? The investigation? Buried under Joey's influence. This scenario would explain Randy's cryptic words, "If I'm already on the road to hell, I'd rather hitch a ride with the devil." It's not just bravado, it's a coded message, a signal to Doug that the plan is in motion. Together, they could be working to dismantle Joey's empire from the inside out, exploiting his greed, his paranoia, and his overconfidence. The payoff would be monumental: Joey behind bars, his empire in ruins, and Randy and Doug emerging as the unlikely heroes of a story that's been anything but heroic. But there's a darker possibility. What if Doug is alive, but he's not on Randy's side? What if Doug's death was a betrayal, a way to escape Joey's wrath and leave Randy to take the fall? In this scenario, Randy's return is a desperate gamble, a man chasing a ghost who doesn't want to be found. The money, the handshake, the bold words, they could all be Randy's attempt to lure Doug out of hiding, to force a confrontation that will either save him or destroy him. Joey's counterplay, the Kingpin's gambit. Joey, for all his charm and charisma, is a predator who never underestimates his prey. He knows Randy's return is a threat, even if he can't yet see the shape of it. His call to Marcel was more than a contingency plan, it was a declaration of war. Joey's world is built on fear and control, and he'll stop at nothing to protect it. If Randy is plotting against him, Joey will be ready. If Doug is alive, Joey will find him. And if this is all a bluff, Joey will make sure Randy regrets stepping foot in his casino. Marcel, Joey's enforcer, is the wild card in this equation. A man of few words and fewer morals, he's the perfect weapon for Joey's schemes. But even Marcel has his limits. If Randy's plan gains traction, if allies start to defect, Marcel might begin to question his loyalty. After all, in Beyond the Gates, loyalty is a currency that's easily spent. The stakes, a world on the brink. As the story unfolds, the stakes couldn't be higher. Joey's empire is a house of cards, built on lies, violence, and greed. Randy's return threatens to topple it, but at what cost? If Doug is alive, their plan could rewrite the rules of the game. If he's dead, Randy's quest for justice might lead him to a grave of his own. And Joey, ever the puppet master, will pull every string to ensure his survival. The casino, with its flashing lights and endless temptations, is more than a setting, it's a metaphor for the world of Beyond the Gates. It's a place where dreams are made and broken, where fortunes are won and lost, and where the line between hero and villain is razor-thin. Randy's return has set the stage for a showdown that could redefine the series, a clash of wills that will test the limits of loyalty, courage, and betrayal. Will it happen? The future of Beyond the Gates. So, will Randy's plan, whether it's revenge, redemption, or a grand conspiracy with Doug, come to fruition? The beauty of Beyond the Gates lies in its unpredictability. The show has never shied away from bold choices, from killing off beloved characters to rewriting its own history with jaw-dropping twists. Randy's return feels like the opening act of a larger drama, one that could stretch across seasons and leave fans reeling. If Doug is alive, the reveal would be a masterstroke, a moment that cements Beyond the Gates as a show unafraid to take risks. If he's truly gone, Randy's journey becomes a tragic odyssey, a man fighting against impossible odds to honor his friend's memory. Either way, Joey's days as the untouchable Kingpin may be numbered. His empire is built on sand, and Randy's return is the first gust of a storm that could sweep it all away. As viewers, we're left on the edge of our seats, parsing every glance, every word, every shadow for clues. Is Randy the hero we need, or a fool rushing toward his own destruction? Is Doug a ghost, a conspirator, or something else entirely? And will Joey, the devil himself, see through the deception before it's too late? One thing is certain, in the world of Beyond the Gates, nothing is as it seems, and the truth is always worth fighting for.